So, welcome to another episode of Inspired Content. We're looking at two short stories, one from World's Best Science Fiction of 1969 and A Wizard's Dozen. The two we're looking at right now is The Grand Carcass and Harlyn's Fairy. I guess that's how you pronounce that character's name. The Grand Carcass, 4.5 out of 5.1. It's an idea, not a story. In my mind, I mean, it was a little disappointing. It was a gimmick overblown. Now, Harlyn's Fairy, I kind of want to like this one, but I can only really give it a 5.2 out of a 5.7. It's just... I mean, the whole thing is summed up with kid sees fairies, family's worried that he might be crazy, so he stops, he pretends that he was just imagining it. But he has a real encounter with fairies. Question mark? Because it's implied that some of his family actually have gone crazy, so he might just be crazy. And it's like, that's really it. It's like, there's not much more to it than that. And then it's like, there's not anything about the kid that's developed that you become attached to. Not anything really going on where you're like, you have an investment in the outcome for the fairies. You kind of want it to happen positively, but they're not developed as characters or situations. It's just kind of like, I realize that the format of a really short story didn't really enable that a lot, but I mean, it could have been a little bit different. Alright, but the idea is they inspired a machine that is made perfectly to understand the universe, and everything it tells us makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So we figured it's broken, so we keep adjusting it until it tells us what we want to hear, never noticing how right it had been and how biased it is now. Machine that we created to understand the universe and make no mistakes, which begins to withhold data because part of its understanding is knowing the place humans play in things and knowing not to help change that place by granting artificial assistance or elevation to us. So it's almost like the machine realizes the course of events as they will unfold and knows that, sort of like the prime directive, you just can't interfere until they've reached a point at which it's okay to interact with them again. A machine that is supposed to be better than all previous generations. The potential obsolete machines seek to infect and destroy it as a threat to their serving a purpose in the world, only to be forgiven by the machine they destroy, and to really start to feel some kind of shame at their actions in destroying it. A child who lives in the modern times but claims to see fairies, but quickly learns not to tell adults about it because they will think he's crazy, but he's also the only human who's doing things to help the fairies manage the expanding reach of human influence into their own wilderness and their own world. A child is so afraid of being crazy, like their parent, that they pretend they don't see fairies until they cannot ignore the threat to the fairies and the resulting acceptance of perhaps realizing you may just be crazy like your parents, but you can't turn a blind eye to the things that craziness lets you see. A child who tells lies about fairies doing things like stealing cookies or other little things, only to have their lies take on a life of their own and actually be little hobgoblin fairies, causing some of those things to actually happen. Alright, those are the ideas I got from these two stories. Hopefully there's some inspiration in there for you. And I'll see you for the next episode.